Welcome back to the 2 Months Podcast presented by Boston Pizza. I'm your host, Joshua Marshall, and we have a guest waiting in the wing here. He is joining us early this morning here Wednesday morning. We have he's a former head coach and a former president and a general manager in the National Hockey League. You can find him throughout the weeks with Nick Kyprios and Justin Bourne on Sportsnet's channels of all their networks. We have Doug MacLean. Mac, how's it going?
Good, good. Yeah, that Kiprio show is a pain. Like seriously, I mean, I've got to watch games because of that. You know?
you, you can't get away from that guy. So,
Oh, well, I've been carrying him for a long time, so I have to just keep carrying him.
yeah, it seems like you might have to
I
do that for the rest of your life, Max.
I thought born, when you have two kids, that's enough. You don't need a third kid. So
Yeah,
anyway, I thought Bourne would be able to help, but he's just muddling along. I got to go in there on Fridays and liven them up.
yeah, you do. Remember the last time? Remember the last time you were on? You're laughing, making me laugh so hard. So just the great stories. I think you were talking about Jeff Rimmer and just the great stories of yeah. You know how to make people laugh, Mac. You still
I as a matter of fact, I've got to have coffee with Rimmer this morning. He's retired now, so that's another aggravation for me. He's down here in Florida more, so I've got to have coffee with him. And I said, like, he lives out in the boonies. We're at the beach, and he lives 25 minutes inland. And I so now, when he wants me to have a coffee, I've got to drive a half hour out to his place. Like that. But I said, I'll go, but
yeah.
you're paying for the coffee and the egg sandwich. And to get that at a Jeff Rimmer is a lot.
This
That is a lot. So I'll go out and see him this morning, and I'll get all the excuses on what's wrong with the Blue Jackets. And
yeah.
they look like they're going to be Stanley Cup contenders 2 weeks ago, and then I noticed they've won one of their last nine. So they're sort of up and down. So
Yeah,
we'll see how cocky he is this morning.
yeah, exactly. We'll see what the excuse there is to say
Mm.
on that one too. Um, let's go around the horn here. But let's talk about you know, someone that you helped mentor first. I know I sent you the topics, but I thought this was interesting yesterday. Is last year the Colorado Avalanche dressed 38 players throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. And up until the other night, they've dressed up to 36 players, Mac. And Chris MacFarland is someone you know very well. But can you talk about what the job he's done in Colorado with knowing the injuries and some of the inconsistencies that they've had? But they're obviously their top players are earning their keep and earning their money. But some of the players are getting into plug and play, doing a good job. And I know you know Chris very well, and that's someone that you helped along the way. And he obviously got his due to be an NHL general manager. What's your take on Colorado and the work that he's done there?
Well, look, it's kind of been a really funny year, a couple of years for them. CMAC joined us as a 30-year-old in Columbus in our first year. And Jim Clark actually hired him to be our hockey ops guy, and he did just an amazing job. He was with me for almost 11 years. So, it's great to see him move on and do well. I mean, great move by him when he was let go by the Blue Jackets, and Joe Sakic hires him as an assistant. JD, John Davidson, had a little bit to do with that, helping him get his foot in the door there with Sakic, and that's been a great move. What about the Avs? Yeah, it's been devastating. The Landeskog injury has been a devastating injury when you lose a guy that's that critical a leader and a good player besides, and a winner, and then have to fill in. But to me, the bigger issue is their goaltending. I don't quite understand why they've hemmed and hawed and not gone out and got obviously the cap has a major part to do with that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But the moves last week, bringing in Wedgwood, I don't see that as a solution. I hope I'm wrong on that, but to me, they've got two backups as their goaltenders, and when you're poised to try to win a Stanley Cup, that's not going to be easy. They've been up and down all year. Some days I look at the standings; they're in the playoffs. Some days I look, they're out of the playoffs, and I can't fathom that. I can't understand that. So I hope that it works out for them. I like Chris a lot. I think he's done a great job. keeping it together and staying at the in the standing in the race. But if they don't get goaltending, there's a couple of teams. I look at them. I look at Carolina contenders, and the young kid in the younger goaltender in Carolina is there a lot of nights.
Yeah.
But to win a Stanley Cup, we saw it last year. What a Bobrovsky meant for the Panthers. If you don't have great goaltending, you have a hard time winning that time of year.
Yeah. I'm surprised more teams, and I don't know this, but I wonder if there was more teams interested in, Stolarz when he was available. Just
No,
because, yeah, I don't know where that is. Like, obviously, we've seen what he's done, and obviously he's out for the Leafs here. But I was a bit like surprised because it seems like he kind of figured it out. But obviously, the health issues are still the health issues with him.
yeah, look, he's had the chronic knee issues for a while, and I didn't know that, and I heard Nick talking about it the other day, Kiprio. So, look, he really positioned himself well last year in Florida. Come on, and gave them some great performances in clutch situations. And hey, look, he's been great in Toronto. He's been so good in Toronto. Him and Wall have been really good in Toronto. They've given the team the best goaltending they've had in a number of years, and it's showing in the standings. So now he's out 4 to 6 weeks, which is devastating. But it'll be a test for Wall because he's injury prone as well and hasn't got the number of reps he needs to play, to contend. But they reminded me a lot. I was thinking this a couple of weeks ago, and I saw somebody said it this week. They remind me of the Allmark Swayman combo
Yeah.
in Boston. Good teamwork, togetherness. They like each other. Stola seems like a quality veteran guy, so it gives the Leafs some stability there, which really, is going to be a critical situation as they move towards the playoffs. That's going to be a big test for them. So, look, I goaltended it. It's funny. I was saying to somebody the other day, if I was running a team, I think I would call a guy into my office and say, okay, I've got some good news and some bad news for you. I'm going to pay you $500,000 to scout for me this year. $500,000, 5 times what a lot of scouts make. The bad news is I want you to go to Russia for the year and find me a goaltender.
Yeah.
So, and I look at the top goalies in the NHL. Russia seems to jump out at you. So maybe I'd send a guy there for a year and see if he could find me one. But, it's funny. Look, it's funny how everybody talks about all of the great models to win. And I think about, first of all, you need skill and speed, which the good teams really have. You need a group that are tough to play against at critical times, score the tough goals, the hard goals. And thirdly, you need unbelievable goaltending.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed in 25 years. Despite all the analytics and all the great resources we have, they've got teams now traveling on the road that they need 2 buses on the road just to carry their extra personnel. Like, how do the owners put up with this BS? Where I look at the staffs and they've got an extra 25 people working in these organizations. Like, what is going on? Like, the owners are sitting there like, yeah, their franchises are going way up in value. I get that. But there's still a ton of NHL teams not making money, not cash flowing.
Yeah.
And yet they've got, and the NBA's worse. They got 100 of them running around, Now they're bringing in players that played college or whatever, and they're practice players because they don't want their stars practicing. Like, what is going on in pro sports? Like, it's a joke.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
Jeff, I know Jeff O'Neill, and you probably had some times throughout your like the time you were a head coach and all that with Jeff O'Neill, and he always says that at least there's on every team in the NHL, he says there's at least 2 to 5 or 3 to 5 players that don't deserve to be in the NHL. Like, the league's a bit watered down, and maybe that's kind of the theme. I don't know where you come out on that. I know it might not be the same thing, but it's interesting because someone that we know in terms of Matt Benning, who just got traded from San Jose to Toronto, he was telling me he's like, when he got to Toronto, he's like, man, there's the bus, and then there's like another bus. So it's just like, it's totally exactly what you said too.
It's crazy. It's just makes no sense. But anyway, they've got jobs to, they've created such a hierarchy. It's unbelievable. You know. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, and yet it's still really tough to play in the league and really tough to make the league. And you know, you still have to be a great player to play in the NHL. And there's you know, watered down, but you look at youth hockey in the way it's growing all over the world and producing players like you've never seen before. You know, when you think of, you know, the Chicago area, all throughout the U.S., it's you know, it's growing in leaps and bounds. I mean, obviously Europe's always been there as a great producer of talent. Canada's the greatest producer of talent, but it's still, there's still a ton of talent and really tough to make it.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
So how is it for your son and with Clark and you know the MacLean group and all that? How is the kind of that scouting process? I know you kind of touched on it there, but how's things going on that side of it? And you know the how many people are working in the MacLean group and the process of like looking after these players throughout the U.S. and Canada and Europe?
Yeah, you know, he's sort of transitioned into a little different thing where he's trying to, you know, he's got 3 or 4 pros, but he's got a number of college kids and a number of youth hockey kids, and he's more transition more into an advisor role versus, look, the agent business is a brutal business. Like, I'm serious. Like, the number one objective of agencies is who can we steal from the next person?
Mm-hmm.
Who can we sell? And the big agencies are as worried about it as the little agencies. They're, you know, every day you read, you know, X player leaves to sign, you know, to go with somebody else, and like, so as I talk to agents in the business, the number one thing they're all concerned about is who's trying to steal our players. They interview young guys to join agencies, and they said, "Well, how good will you be at trying to steal people from other agencies?" Like, what kind of business is this? I mean, so anyway, he's doing the advising thing, you know, obviously trying to get kids into a major junior, into U.S. college, and it's really a tough time because of this whole major junior call U.S. NCAA transition. So it's going to be really interesting to where it all ends up. But no, he's got 3 guys with him, and he's enjoying it, you know. And I'm sort of happy for him. I'm on the payroll too as an advisor, but I don't get paid. It's like the shows I do. It's like the Kiprio show. It's
Yeah.
like all the shows I do. If I just got paid for what I do, I'd be all right. I wouldn't need a job.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have to you wouldn't have to do those breakfasts for the $3 pancakes and all that. So,
Exactly.
yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Um, what do you think is the driving force of agents of player of that situation? Because I don't think that probably was happening when you're an executive, Mac. Like
Oh,
it seemed pretty loyal at that point. It seems like it's
it,
changed a little bit since you left.
well, here's what happened, in my opinion. They're running around recruiting 13-year-olds. Okay,
Yeah.
you go to a minor hockey rink, and the place is full of these bird dog so-called agents that are recruiting 13-year-olds. So you tell me a guy that you get as a 13-year-old, okay, and you can take them from 13 to 18, where there's not going to be major challenges in those 5 years, whether he's cut from a team he wants to be on, whether he's not getting the ice time. I mean, this is what they have to deal with. They babysit these teenagers, and they have to be perfect for 5 years so that they don't have, you know, other people taking them when they sort of move into their prime.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they do it. Honest to God, I don't know how they do it. And I chuckle about what the business has really become. I really do. I just shake my head at it. And I've tried to get Clark to get out of it for a number of years, but you know, he loves the game and he enjoys doing what he's doing. He had some opportunities to go with NHL teams last summer, and I was hoping that would work out for him, but it didn't. So you know, we'll see where it goes. But look, I just don't know how the guy's doing. And I talked to the big agents, and they're as troubled about it as anybody as well.
Yeah.
With the direction it's going in. Like, just like, you know, you just want, as I said, how can you please parents from 13 to 20,
Yeah.
that you're not going to have major issues along the way. And anytime there seems to be a major issue, they're looking for somebody else to go with, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good. Not a good situation. Let's move over to the Buffalo Sabres and another tough loss last night in Montreal, 6-1. Terry Bagula flies in before the game. Obviously, whatever the meeting that they had, obviously didn't seem like it went good because the result of the game wasn't the greatest result here. And winless in their last 11 games. What will happen here in Buffalo? As I know, we're recording at 6:30 in the morning on Wednesday, so something might happen later in the day where this is old news, but what's true now might not be true in a couple hours from now. But do you think there's a cleaning of the house here with Buffalo with Terry? Do you think Adams is in jeopardy? You think Lindy Ruff's in jeopardy? Or do you think they just kind of ride the wave here and just accept their fate and just kind of see where they can go in the summer?
Well, it's interesting. I interviewed for a job with Buffalo 4 years ago or just when Kevin got the job,
Yeah.
and it was I was going through. Kim Pagula's assistant was sort of the guy I was dealing with, and I went down the road, and then the final part was it was going to be an advisor job, and the final part was you've got to meet with Kevin Adams, and I thought, not sure that's going to be a great move. The last time I talked to Kevin, I traded him for Ray Whitney in Columbus. I'm not sure it's going to go that well.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up talking to Kevin for probably 45 minutes, and I got the sense that he didn't really want an advisor, and that's fine. He brought in Jason Karmanis as an assistant GM, and I thought, hey, I like Kevin. He was always a good kid. He played hard, and I thought, it would be. And it's funny. I remember talking to Lindy, and Lindy phoned Kevin and recommended me for the job. But anyway, I didn't get it, and I look at it where it is, and they're a little bit like a lot of teams. They're a little bit like Columbus, who have had 4 rebuilds, probably, or 5 since I've left there. Detroit, how many rebuilds? How many times has Stevie Y tried to retool there in the last 7 years? And
Yeah.
Ottawa, how many times have they tried to retool and rejig their veteran group? And so there's a number of teams that are Philadelphia. There's a number of teams that are going through the same thing, trying to figure out how they bring the right veterans in to be with the young kids. And it's not easy to do. Ottawa maybe made the best move in the summer when they got it, Allmark. And I look at the other teams. What is Detroit's goaltending like? What is Buffalo's goaltending like? Their prospects are good young people, but they're not ready to lead a bottom team. And Columbus, the same thing. You're never going to win with Merzlikins. I mean, it's a pipe dream. It's really challenging for the teams. Dolan's been out in Buffalo, which hurts. Lindy is not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Lindy will be there for the next couple of years, in my opinion. I mean, Pagula was part of the Lindy hire because they go way back, and there's a strong relationship there, and he's a veteran guy. For Kevin, no one. I guess my question is how. I haven't heard Terry Pagula's name mentioned in 2 years, and all of a sudden he's flying in to meet with the team and telling them he really believes in them. I don't think he's been around much, and so how much interest does he really have? I know he's got the Bills. They're the number one franchise, one of the best franchises in the NFL. He's focused on building a new building in Buffalo. I just don't know. I know he flew in to talk to them, and Terry's been a good owner, but I just don't know. I don't see them changing anything. If anything happens, Kevin goes, and I never wish that on anybody. But Lindy's not going anywhere for now. I know that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Obviously, that hire seemed like he was going to be there for at least 2 years.
And I don't understand how they're this bad. I know the goaltending is young. I know there's been a bit of turnover. I know they're young in every position, but they looked like they were ready to be a decent team. And all of a sudden, I watched them last night. I mean, it was scary how bad it was. You know, they had 3 shots or something in the first period. After the owner flies in and meets with you, that's what you drop on the table. So, you know, hopefully they'll get it going again. But I look at all these bottom teams. Who's going to make the playoffs? With this, there's 6 spots in the East basically taken right now, 6 and maybe 7. And you know, Ottawa looks like the best team of that next group. Can Pittsburgh slip in there? I don't know. I mean, it's really tough to make the playoffs, man. It really is. The Rangers, like, who would believe where they are? What a dog and pony show that's become. Gerard Gallant took the fall there. You know, I mean, they couldn't wait. The media and the players and management couldn't wait to move Gerard out, and all of a sudden Laviolette comes in, and it is a gong show there right now.
Do you think?
To put it mildly,
Yeah.
it's a gong show.
Yeah. Do you think, like, there's that terminology, or like the coach lost the room, the players have kind of given up on the coach. Do you think, and we don't hear this often, but do you think the way Chris Drury's handled some of the situations with the Barclay Goodrows, the Jacob Trubas, some of these other situations, do you think he's lost the room? And, look at Capo Caco's comments yesterday and kind of being like, I don't get it. I'm not hardly on for any goals against. And it's easy to pick the young guys out and healthy scratch them. He said it to the media instead of saying it to maybe said it to his head coach too. But, it's just interesting that, some of the decisions that Drury's made here, it seems like it's kind of costing their team. And I agree with you. Like, we're pretty biased on the whole situation with Turk, and thinking the guy's a great coach. You haven't heard one player ever go on a podcast anywhere or any radio show say the guy's a bad head coach. Like,
yeah. Look, I don't know whether there's look, there's no doubt when management make moves, it can affect your dressing room. It happened to me. It's happened to lots of people in management positions where it can affect your room. You don't like it, you hate it. But I watched this team, what was it, 3 years ago when they played George's first year. They went to the conference finals against Tampa and lost in a hard-fought series, and they had a hell of a playoff run. The next year, the first round, they play New Jersey at home, or Jersey in the first round. I was blown away by the no-shows by their stars in that series. I was blown away by the way Fox played. I was blown away by the way Panarin played, the way Kreider played, the way a group of those guys that are really good players, how they played in a series against New Jersey, and they lost in 5 games. And all of a sudden, the veterans aren't happy with Gerard, and he's not working with the kids, and he doesn't make adjustments on the bench, which was all the BS that came out of the Ranger organization about why they made a coaching change. So, look, and the same players are basically there. So now it's falling on Drury and Laviolette. That's where it's falling. Straight on. I watched them last night. They can't defend to save their life. They've got the best goaltender in the NHL, and they're lose last night to Nashville 2-0. I mean, they give up odd man rushes like a Pee Wee B team. It's unbelievable. It's shocking to me how they play. Two-way hockey. It's not there. So, is it coaching? Is it management? I know one thing: somebody's going to take a hit here, big time. Because Dolan, the owner, I can guarantee you, he's not a happy camper.
No, there's no way it can be, especially where they finished off last year. And yeah, I know that getting the President's Trophy isn't the be all end all. It's not
and talent's not. Talent doesn't appear to be the issue. I mean, it's just they've totally lost their way.
Yeah.
They've totally lost their way on how you have to play to win games in the NHL, as a good team. And I've never seen anything like it. I listen to Valakat, who I love on their TV, and he's a solid analyst. He's a solid analyst. I mean, he's lost trying to explain what's going on.
and he's trying to be as probably as great as he can be, but it's just the
Yeah.
footage is just tough to deal with. It's
Oh,
trying to find
man.
pull some stuff out. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
he's really good with what he does. Really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about Ottawa there. You touched on the Sens a bit, obviously, and another win and another shutout for Olmark, and I think he's 8-1 in his last 9 games, and playing really well. They seem like they're somewhat figuring it out now. Travis Green's come in there. Just listening and learning and understanding talking to some other people because I'm going to be going to Calgary tomorrow to do that game, the Sens versus Flames game for our
Yeah.
podcast. It seems like they haven't really changed too much of what they played last year. It's just maybe a little bit more, some of the players kind of stepping up. Where are you at with the Sens? And are you in on the Sens? Are they a playoff team, or is it too early to say that right now, Mac?
I like the Sens, but like I think they're outshot 15-4 in the first period last night. And Travis said after the game they're buying in. They're buying into his system. Well, they didn't buy in the first period. Allmark stood in his head.
Yeah,
It was 15-4 the shots. So, but you know what? I think they're gaining confidence, and I really like their talent base. And Pinto is coming on now. I mean, I love Kachuk. Goodette's been a great story as a third liner for them after being in the American League all the year. Sanderson has started off slow, but is coming on now. Shabbat's been better. Jensen has been a nice pickup for them. One of the few pickups that they made that's really turned out. And Allmark's been the story. Like Allmark, the team was spiraling out of control a week and a half ago. They lost a tough loss to the Islanders at home. You recall they gave up 13 shots in the game and they lost to the Islanders at home. And it was spiraling out of control, gone on the road for 14 games. And all of a sudden, Allmark starts to play out of his head. And he's given the team confidence. And that's what they haven't had for a number of years. Their goaltending was abysmal. And all of a sudden, Allmark has given them goaltending, and now they're 5-1 or whatever it is in the last 5 or 6 games. And he's been the number one reason. Confidence is growing. I'd like to see them do well. I like Travis. I'd like to see them do well. They're my team of that whole group that I would like to see slip into the playoffs.
yeah, it would be fun to see them, and
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be and it's interesting. I think the Sens are 7-1 when Travis Hamonic plays 20 minutes or more too. So
yeah.
another guy that is holding it still on the back end for them.
And yet when they're losing, they say, why do they take Hamonic out?
Yeah,
Everybody's got the answers. So,
yeah,
but you
exactly.
know what? I'll tell you what. It's really, really hard to find quality veterans to come in with these young teams. Stevie Y has not been able to do it, and he's tried hard, to do it. Lots of teams try, and it's really, really hard. Jensen has been a great pickup. Hamonic's a good veteran. And you think about Claude Giroux, who played center his whole career, and all of a sudden he shifts to the wing because that's where they need him to play. And it's been a good story. It's been a good story. So finding those quality veterans to fill in, Florida's done a great job of it. That's why they're in this. That's why they're winning the Stanley Cup. They did an amazing job of it. Edmonton is trying to do it. They're not there yet. Kind of caught off guard a couple of their signings this summer.
Yeah.
I'm not, it caught me way off guard a couple of them. But anyway, they're still a real good team. So it's not easy to find those veteran guys.
No, it is not. I guess the last one we'll finish up on this, Mac. Do you think Hockey Canada will kind of regret in terms of not putting Zach Hyman on this team? Obviously 7 goals his last 7 games. There's
Yeah.
a good chance he maybe have 20, 25 goals by the time this tournament starts. Do you think some of the decisions they made were the right ones, wrong ones? I guess it's kind of hard to say because how deep the pool is in Canada, but
Yeah. You know what? I really didn't follow it that close. I look at Team Canada and I think, I love Zach Hyman. I mean, I love what he brings to the table. Even when he was with the Leafs, I really was, he played hard every night. He's a battler. He goes the tough areas. He scores the tough goals. He's everything you want in a player in the regular season and especially at playoff time when his goals are really hard to score. in this series, goals probably will be hard to score too, because there's teams with great blue lines. But Canada, I mean, I look at them. I mean, how many Stanley Cup winners does Team Canada have
I think it's
versus how many Stanley Cup winners does Team USA and the other teams have?
yeah, I think Canada is 14 or 15.
Yeah, a lot of leaders there and a lot of winners there. So I have a hard time really critiquing what they've done. I know how tough a job it is to pick those all-star teams. So, it's going to be a great series. Look, Sweden have a great team. Finland have a great team. Talk about a good blue line. USA, I mean, it's going to be a fun series to watch. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so yeah, obviously, and then Patrick Kane not making it too, but Bill
Yeah,
giving us
that's
respect to meet him in person to let him know that too, right? So
I I just it's tough when Patrick Kane can't find a spot on Team USA. That to me, I'm thinking, is there something wrong with that pitcher? There is to me, but you know,
he is the
it's
greatest
tough.
player right now in the US, right? So
Oh my God, has he been good? Has he been good? Yeah.
well, thanks for joining us again. I know it's been a while since we've had you on last, but it's always fun to catch up with you and reminisce and catch up.
Now, I
Last,
need to know before I go, who is your team? Is it Edmonton or is it Calgary or is it Toronto?
definitely not Edmonton. So
Will they let you in the press box there now?
they won't yet, Mac. No, I still haven't got that. They'll let me into the morning skates because we take a bunch of minor hockey kids to the morning skates. So it's interesting because open up the Pandora's box a little bit here. But we just did a mental health event and Kevin Lowe was at it and Elliot Freeman hosted it for us, a friend of yours, and Kevin was a colleague and a counterpart of yours and an executive. And so I was telling Kevin that I was like, I have a credentialed pass through the Calgary Flames, but I don't have one in Edmonton. I live in Edmonton. And he goes, this is crazy. He's like, I need to fix this for you. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Every day I just sprinkle some more sugar to them and hopefully one day they'll do it. The thing is, they just don't credential just podcasts. So, even Oilers Nations who have a very successful platform too, they have actually way more followers than us. Unfortunately, they don't even have a media pass. So, but yeah, I'll be going to Calgary. I got mine. Peter Hanlon's very gracious to us, and
Peter's a great guy.
I was talking actually Ian Mendez yesterday, and he's going to help set us an interview up with Travis Hamonic, and
Good.
yeah, so it'll be good. But no, still a Leafs fan by heart. I'll still. Every year they crush it, but
Oh man, they've punished you badly over the last few years. But that's okay. Hang in there.
Yeah, they've taken 5 years off my life. So
listen, I remember '67. I was a big Leafs fan in '67. So and I got Punch Imlach came to my father's restaurant and dropped a 1967 signed Northland hockey stick for me.
yeah,
And then I used it a few weeks later for road hockey, so I broke it.
well, I've always cheered for the teams you took care of, Mac, too. So obviously, the friendship that we've gotten over the years, and guys like Joe Burboulet and Mike Commodore, Jason Chimera,
Good people.
that there's a lot of good people in the game, and you're definitely one of them. So
Okay,
really,
man.
really appreciate it. All the best.
Okay, bud.
And,
All the best, man.
Yeah,
Take care.
Thanks.
See you. Bye.